Hey everyone, this is Snatch Gaming. I'm Mike, and today I wanted to talk about Metal Gear Solid 5 Ground Zeroes, which is basically the prologue to the upcoming Metal Gear Solid 5 The Phantom Pain, which releases on September 1st. And I wanted to talk about this for a couple different reasons. Number one is that it's a really unique case because it was a $30 retail item, which was basically a glorified demo for the new Metal Gear game. Gameplay times came in about an hour for most people, so a lot of people were questioning why Konami was charging these crazy prices for what's basically something we should be able to download and play for free to whet our appetites for the upcoming $60 title. So I wanted to explore that and see if there was a little more to it than just a glorified demo, or if that's all it was and Konami was a bunch of greedy fucks. Also, I wanted to see if this would rekindle my love for Metal Gear, because I really do love Metal Gear Solid. The first game is one of my favorite games of all time on the PS1, and that hasn't changed over the years, although after Sons of Liberty I became really disenchanted with the overly long cutscenes and the complicated story. I just thought it was way too much. So I wanted to see if they could get back to basics just a little bit on this one, because I love the gameplay, and I do like the story, as crazy as it might be. So let's take a look at Ground Zeroes and see if it'll get me back into Metal Gear. First off, please make note that this is a copy of the Xbox 360 version, so you won't be seeing the graphics at their best. However, I wanted to focus more on the gameplay itself here, as well as the game's structure. Feel free to check out the multitude of trailers online if you want to see what the game is capable of graphically. In the opening cinematic, it's nice to see Kojima's name noted where it should. Since they recently took his name off of the eventual box art, I hope to see it here in the game, given that Metal Gear is his baby more than anyone else's, of course. We begin in what appears to be some sort of refugee camp and are introduced to Chico, who is a young volunteer in Snake's army. Chico is being held captive by the XOF, led by the enigmatic Skullface. This cinematic runs somewhere between 5 and 10 minutes, which is right in the sweet spot for Metal Gear as far as my taste is concerned. The game segues nicely into Snake's introduction, where, oddly, he appears to break the fourth wall.
Kept you waiting, huh?
Your mission in Ground Zeroes is to rescue Chico and also Paz, who XOF plans to interrogate. Here we get to dive back into the stealth gameplay we all know and love from the series. Getting into the compound doesn't prove too difficult if you're like me, having not played Metal Gear in a while, and feel like you need to knock some of the rust off. Your binoculars let you scout everything and plan your moves carefully well ahead of time, and what do you know, there's a built-in microphone right in those binoculars. You can listen to conversations that guards are having to get more information. You can also radio in for possible intel from your base regarding certain landmarks. Another way to get intel is obviously to subdue enemies. Here they typically only gave me info about where to find ammo, but supposedly they can provide locations for critical items and people too. Your binoculars also let you tag enemies ahead of time, which will provide a sort of faux thermal vision for you to keep tabs on them while you sneak around. The D-pad provides easy access to your inventory on the fly, and for the most part everything feels good. I had a hell of a time using the commands that let Snake sprint, crouch, and crawl though, and the start and back buttons feel like they were mapped backwards, but your experience will vary depending on what other games you're currently playing, I guess. Like I said, for the most part controlling Snake feels good, but I'll admit that this is one game where I do hope they have an in-game tutorial when the full version releases. I mean, this is a pretty daunting layout, and I couldn't even find a thing or two I was looking for when I was in certain situations. The audio-visual aspects of Ground Zeroes are pretty damn good. The Thunderstorm aesthetics are a great way to show off what they have planned for this installment overall. It looks great and the sound sucks you in, though it's a little strange when you sneak up on a guard that didn't hear you sloshing around in the mud. I do understand that a little artistic license is necessary in these games, though. Artistic license aside, however, I found the enemy AI to be a little on the not-so-bright side. I understand you have to give the player a little freedom, such as walking on loud awnings and not being spotted jogging past guards in the distance. These games would be impossible otherwise, or at least not very fun. I also realize that this is the way it's always been, but it still clashes with the hyper-realistic atmosphere and environments that they're going for. Metal Gear is a victim of its own talents in a way. The better it looks and sounds as we move forward with the things consoles are capable of, and subsequently the more that it sucks you in, the harder it is to accept the very video gamey AI. Does it make the game less fun? Not really, and the guards in Ground Zeroes obviously aren't dumb enough for me, since I ended up shooting my way through much of this prologue. It's just something to make note of as we approach release day in a couple of months. I found the map icons and layout to be a bit odd as well. Certain items seem either unnecessarily marked or their importance or lack thereof wasn't differentiated. As with some of the controls, I have full confidence I'll get used to it, it just seems rough around the edges for now. I'm happy to report that the voice acting so far is great. Almost everyone I've heard in Ground Zeroes and any trailers were top notch, and very in line with the cinematic appeal these games demand. Kaz sounds like an overactor to me, but other than that, I loved the voice work, and thankfully I quickly thought of the main character as Snake and not Kiefer Sutherland. So at the original $30 price point, Ground Zeroes fails hard to justify any kind of a purchase. As we've gone along over the last year and a half or so, it's become much more reasonable. I would prefer you buy it used only because I wouldn't give Konami money directly for what's basically a demo. There are ranks that you can improve on and other things that you can try to do within the game beyond the story, such as freeing other prisoners and things like that that you don't necessarily have to do to get to the end. So there is some replay value there. That's one thing that's different about it compared to most demos. Now, as far as that old Metal Gear feeling, did I get it back? I honestly think I have. I really, really liked Ground Zeroes for what it was in that 1 hour or so of gameplay. I mean, granted, I kind of suck at Metal Gear right now. I really need to get better. But at the same time, the characters are so interesting. The cinematic aspect of all these games is just so great. It sucks you right in. It's a whole mythos at this point. So even though I still maintain that the story is that of a madman's ramblings, a crazy, interesting story is still interesting. So I'm really intrigued. I want to see what happens. So I think I'm going to be a day one adopter for Phantom Pain. And if you know me, those aren't words to take very lightly. So check out Ground Zeroes if you haven't yet. See if you kind of get back into Metal Gear if you've fallen out of it, or if you loved Guns of the Patriots and you just want to keep going. See if it, still gives you the same itch. So, this is Snatch Gaming. I'm Mike, and I'm off to go to Wikipedia to find out what the hell I just played.